Welcome to Forbidden Desires channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. I never expected to find myself watching someone so familiar in a moment so unsettling and private, standing there, frozen in the hallway. I felt my heart pounding so hard I was scared he might actually hear it. It was like a thunderstorm inside my ch*******t. Every beat echoed in my ears, drowning out the sound of my own shaky breath. I couldn't look away, even though every single nerve in my body was begging me to turn around, close my eyes, pretend I hadn't seen anything but curiosity, loneliness, and something darker I couldn't yet name had already taken control. You know that feeling, right, when something forbidden pulls you in, whispering softly that no one would ever know. My legs were trembling, knees practically buckling under the weight of the moment. The hallway was dim, shadows stretching along the walls like quiet secrets. I stood there gripping the doorway, peering through the gap in his slightly open door, just inches separating me from a truth I wasn't ready to face. The house was dead silent, amplifying every single sound, the creaking floorboards beneath my feet, the faint hum of the fridge downstairs, even my nephew's uneven breaths as he sat there, unaware of my presence. He looked so vulnerable, so broken, it made my heart ache in ways I hadn't expected. But deeper down, hidden beneath my empathy, another feeling stirred, one that sent chills down my spine and terrified me even more. A forbidden curiosity awakened inside me, daring me closer, whispering temptations that I desperately tried to silence. But let me tell you, once you step into a moment like this, there's no turning back. The lines between right and wrong blur faster than you'd believe, and you find yourself trapped between who you are and who you swore you'd never become. If you're ready to hear a gripping true story that'll keep you questioning right and wrong, make sure you subscribe to Shocking Infidelity Saga. Hit that notification bell. Take a deep breath and prepare yourself for what you're about to experience. 'Cause trust me, you won't believe what happened next. My name is Hazel. I'm 35, married, and from the outside looking in, my life probably seems perfect. Oliver, my husband, is the guy everyone admires, successful, dependable, always put together. He works hard, traveling constantly for his job, building a future he says is for us, and I get it. I do. But what no one else sees are the long, silent nights when I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wishing he was beside me instead of halfway across the country, wishing he'd call or text just to say he misses me. But he rarely does. And even when he's home, it's like part of him is still somewhere else. I try to stay busy, gardening, cooking, volunteering, anything to fill the emptiness inside our comfortable suburban home. And it is comfortable, bright and airy, tastefully decorated. A place you'd look at and think this is a happy home. But looks are deceiving, because lately the warmth has faded, replaced by quiet rooms filled with loneliness that seems impossible to shake. That's why when Jack, my nephew, moved in temporarily for college break, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Jack is 21, charming and incredibly mature for his age, the kind of person everyone immediately likes. He always had this quiet confidence about him, a warmth that drew people in. But lately, since his parents separated, there's also this sadness, a deep vulnerability beneath his easygoing smile. He tries to hide it, of course, but I see it clearly. Maybe it's because I've been feeling the same way, trapped, invisible, craving a connection that's somehow always just out of reach. Jack's presence filled a gap I didn't fully realize existed until he arrived. We started spending evenings talking, nothing unusual, just life, relationships, dreams. But it felt good to finally be heard, to feel noticed again. He was genuinely interested in my thoughts and feelings. Unlike Oliver, who barely listened anymore, Jack saw me as more than just his aunt. He saw the real Hazel, someone interesting, someone worth getting to know. It was refreshing, comforting, even. But deep down I knew I was walking a dangerous path. Our home became warmer with Jack around, but the emotional tension inside me only grew stronger. My loneliness didn't vanish, it shifted, took on a new shape, a more troubling one. Every interaction felt heightened, every smile lingered a bit too long. Every accidental brush of his hand against mine sent my heart racing. I fought it hard, convincing myself Nothing inappropriate was happening, that my mind was just starved for affection, but denial can only hold back reality for so long. I began catching myself, watching Jack more closely, noticing small things about him. The thoughtful way he spoke, how his eyes softened when he listened, the way he carried his sadness quietly, just like me. Each observation felt innocent enough at first, but the more I noticed, the deeper I fell into dangerous thoughts. The loneliness I'd felt with Oliver was different now, sharper, hungrier, more desperate, and standing in that hallway, staring through Jack's slightly open door at his unguarded moment of vulnerability, I realized something terrifying. The lines I thought I'd never cross were already fading away, leaving only uncertainty ahead. That night started like any other quiet evening. I'd just finished tidying up downstairs when I headed up to bed, the silence of the house settling around me like a familiar weight. As I reached the top of the staircase, I noticed Jack's bedroom door slightly open, a soft glow of light spilling into the hallway. I paused just for a second, curious, but something held me there. I didn't mean to pry, honestly. I convinced myself I was just checking in, making sure everything was okay. But as I stood there, my eyes adjusted to the dimness. And through the narrow opening, I saw Jack sitting on the edge of his bed, shoulders slumped, his face buried in his hands. He was crying, quiet, gentle sobs shaking his body. My heart squeezed painfully in my ****T. Jack had always seemed so strong, composed, mature beyond his years. Seeing him like this felt like witnessing something forbidden. A private moment I wasn't supposed to see yet. I couldn't look away. I stepped closer, just a fraction, careful not to make a sound. I told myself it was concern, pure and simple, but deep inside I felt a pull, a powerful urge to comfort him, to ease his pain. It was different than anything I'd felt before, deeper, stronger, almost magnetic. Part of me desperately wanted to push the door open, wrap my arms around him and assure him everything would be okay. Another part warned me sharply to back away, that this wasn't my place, that I was crossing into territory I should never even approach. But as he whispered softly, his words barely audible through his tears, my heart melted even further. "Why am I always alone?" he murmured, his voice breaking slightly. "What's wrong with me? Why does everyone I care about leave?" Hearing those words broke something open inside me. I recognized his loneliness. It mirrored my own so perfectly. Felt like he was speaking directly from my heart. I felt a strange, powerful empathy drawing me closer, connecting us in a way I didn't dare acknowledge openly. His sadness stirred an instinct within me, not only to comfort but also to protect, nurture, and somehow fill the void he felt, because deep down I knew exactly how much it hurt standing there, frozen in place, my breathing shallow. I wondered why I was so drawn to this moment, this vulnerability. Jack was family, my nephew. Shouldn't feel this intimate, this intense, but logic was quickly losing its grip as emotions I'd long suppressed surfaced rapidly. For the first time in forever I felt needed, wanted, even if only in my imagination. It intoxicated me, sent warmth thrashing through my veins, making my heart beat faster. I knew I had to step away to pretend I hadn't seen anything, but before I could, Jack lifted his head slightly, the dim bedside lamp illuminating the tears on his cheeks. Pain in his eyes was raw, exposed, and undeniably real. My breath caught, and without even realizing it, my hand reached toward the door, hovering just inches away from pushing it open. I wanted nothing more in that instant than to hold him, reassure him that he wasn't alone, that I understood. But my fingers trembled in hesitation, a tiny shred of self-awareness returning, reminding me of the invisible boundary I was about to cross. Shame and desire battled within me, both equally powerful, both threatening to consume me completely. Finally, reason won out, at least for that moment. I stepped silently backward, heart still racing, emotions spinning wildly out of control. I crept back toward my bedroom, but every step felt heavier than the last. I couldn't escape the image of Jack's tears, his broken whisper echoing in my ears as I climbed into bed. My heart wouldn't settle. I tossed and turned, haunted by that brief moment of vulnerability, and by the overwhelming impulse I'd felt to cross lines. I knew I shouldn't even approach. Little did I know this innocent moment would trigger something much deeper in me. I laid awake that entire night, staring at the ceiling, replaying what I'd seen over and over again. Jack's face, the tears, the raw vulnerability refused to fade from my mind. But beyond that, something else lingered deeper and far more troubling the way it had made me feel. That pull, that intense desire to comfort him wasn't something I could dismiss as mere empathy. It scared me because I recognized it, something deeper, something forbidden. I rolled onto my side, the empty spot next to me, where Oliver should have been feeling colder than ever. I reached out, touching the empty sheets, aching for warmth, for closeness, for anything that would fill this hollow feeling inside my ch******t. The house had never felt so unbearably empty, so painfully quiet. Oliver was 100 miles away, probably sleeping, soundly, completely unaware of the storm raging inside my heart. How had we gotten here? Oliver and I used to be inseparable. We talked constantly, laughed easily, our connection once strong and effortless, but somewhere along the line, his career, his ambition, it all began pulling him away, and slowly, almost without noticing, I became invisible to him, forgotten, taken for granted, alone. Maybe that's why seeing Jack so vulnerable had hit me so deeply. He reminded me of myself. He was lost and lonely, just like me. My heart twisted again, this time with guilt as much as longing. I felt shame creeping in, whispering that what I was feeling was wrong, so wrong. But beneath that shame was something stubborn and defiant, quietly arguing back, saying, I deserved this closeness, that Jack deserved support, that somehow what I was feeling wasn't entirely selfish. Was I wrong for wanting closeness, even if it meant blurring lines? I kept asking myself that question over and over, as if hoping the answer might change or become clearer. But every time it became more tangled, more confusing. I found myself wondering, could it really be so wrong to care deeply for someone who was hurting someone who needed exactly what I had to give? Each rationalization made me feel slightly better, temporarily silencing my guilt. I convinced myself that my feelings were innocent enough, simply the natural result of three lonely souls finding understanding. Jack was hurting, abandoned by his parents' separation, struggling with a heartbreak of his own. Wasn't it my duty as someone older, wiser, someone who truly cared about him, to step in and help heal those wounds? Wasn't it right for me to show him he wasn't alone? But every time I thought I had convinced myself, doubt returned with force, questioning everything I was feeling. What kind of woman was I becoming? What kind of wife was loneliness enough to justify this craving for intimacy, even if it was only emotional, at least for now? My stomach twisted at the thought, guilt and shame, mixing with the irresistible warmth that surged through me every time I thought of Jack. Days passed and I tried to keep my distance, telling myself I was protecting us both. But each night, after Oliver's brief, emotionless call ended, I found myself inevitably drawn back to Jack. Conversations grew longer, more personal, the boundaries thinning more dangerously each day. Every innocent touch, every lingering glance between us felt electric, making my pulse quicken and my breath catch in my throat. It was as if Jack had awakened a part of me. I'd long forgotten, a part that felt alive, needed, desired. I knew I should stop, knew I should rebuild the wall I'd let crumble, but every time I tried, my resolve weakened. The comfort he gave, the closeness he offered, felt like the very oxygen I'd been deprived of for years. And so I continued, quietly rationalizing, carefully convincing myself. It was all harmless, even good, that I was helping Jack, that I was helping myself survive. But deep down in the quiet corners of my heart, I knew better. My feelings weren't innocent, they were dangerous, forbidden, and growing stronger. By the second, the harder I tried to ignore these emotions, the more irresistible they became. Night after night, Jack and I found ourselves lingering in the quiet corners of the house, talking softly long after everyone else had gone to sleep. It became our secret routine, something we never openly acknowledged but both silently anticipated. We'd sit at the kitchen table or sometimes on the living room sofa, the dim glow of a single lamp, creating a comforting intimacy around us. started innocently enough, just sharing our day, laughing at silly stories or frustrations, but slowly, without fully realizing it, our conversations became deeper, more personal, revealing hidden thoughts we'd both kept buried. One night, Jack opened up about his breakup, the hurt still fresh in his voice, his eyes usually so steady filled again with that raw, fragile emotion. He admitted softly how abandoned he'd felt, how his trust had been shattered, and how terrifying it was to believe someone could love him again. His vulnerability drew me closer, pulling at my heart, making me ache to comfort him without thinking. I reached across the small distance between us, gently touching his hand, letting my fingertips linger softly against his skin. He glanced down at our hands, then slowly raised his eyes back to mine, and in that moment something shifted between us. I saw surprise, warmth, confusion, and maybe even a hint of the same forbidden longing. I'd been desperately fighting. I quickly pulled my hand away, heart-racing cheeks, burning with embarrassment, but the damage had already been done. The look in his eyes stayed with me long after I retreated to my empty bed, haunting me with questions I was afraid to answer. As the days went by, those quiet late-night conversations continued, becoming even more intimate, more revealing. Jack asked questions no one had asked me in years about my dreams, my hopes, my regrets. He listened carefully, genuinely interested in every detail. His attention made me feel seen, valued in a way I hadn't experienced in what felt like forever. I found myself sharing things I never told anyone, not even Oliver's secrets that exposed the rarest parts of me. Each confession brought us closer, blurring the invisible boundaries I knew we were crossing. I started noticing every little detail about Jack, the subtle shifts in his voice when he spoke passionately about something, the way his eyes softened whenever he listened to me, the way his laughter made warmth bloom inside my ch******t. Our casual, innocent touches became more frequent, lingering just a bit longer each time, a brush of his arm against mine while cooking dinner together, his hand lightly touching my shoulder as he walked past me, each touch sending a jolt of electricity racing beneath my skin, and every night I'd lie awake, replaying those moments over and over. Feeling guilty yet unable to resist the excitement they brought, one evening as we talked quietly in the living room, Jack reached out casually, brushing a strand of hair from my face. His fingertips barely touched my cheek, but the intimacy of the gesture stole my breath completely. Time seemed to pause, our eyes locked, neither of us moving or speaking. My heart thundered so loud I thought surely he could hear it, could feel how much that tiny moment affected me. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind, conflicting emotions tangling within me, fear, longing, shame, desire. I knew exactly how wrong it was to feel this way, yet the strength of those feelings left me paralyzed, unable to pull away or break the silent spell binding us together. His eyes held a question I desperately wanted to answer. Even though every instinct warned me to stop, turn away, and rebuild the distance I'd allowed to vanish, the tension became impossible to ignore. Every glance between us was heavy with unspoken words, each silence charged with secrets. Neither of us dared say aloud. Jack became my greatest comfort and my greatest torment, the source of both joy and overwhelming guilt. I felt trapped between my desperate need for closeness and the undeniable truth of the line. We were dangerously close to crossing. Yet despite knowing exactly how risky this was, despite promising myself over and over that it had to end, I couldn't resist seeking out those moments again and again. Each night I fell deeper into this emotional web. We'd woven together my heart, fighting a losing battle against feelings I'd never imagined I'd experience, especially not like this. One night, as we stood together by the window watching rain gently tapping against the glass, Jack's shoulder brushed softly against mine, sending warmth through my entire body. He turned slowly, eyes searching, mind filled with an intensity that made my knees weak. I knew we were dancing dangerously close to the edge, but I couldn't stop myself. That night, a fierce thunderstorm shook the house. Rain pounded relentlessly against the roof, and flashes of lightning cast strange, restless shadows across my bedroom walls. Unable to sleep, I wrapped myself in a blanket and wandered downstairs, hoping maybe some tea would calm my nerves quiet, the relentless thoughts racing through my mind. But just as I reached the bottom step, I heard it, a faint sound, muffled but familiar. Jack's quiet, broken, sobbing coming from the living room. My heart seized, instantly pulled toward him without hesitation. Any thought of caution vanished as I hurried forward, finding Jack curled up on the couch, his head buried in his hands. The sight broke me open. Every instinct pushed me toward him, my arms aching to wrap around his shaking shoulders. "Jack," I whispered, my voice trembling as I sat carefully beside him. He flinched at first, surprised to see me, eyes red, and filled with an agony I felt deep within myself. "I'm sorry," he whispered, voice cracking. "I didn't want you to see me like this." I shook my head softly, reaching out without hesitation, gently touching his shoulder. "You don't have to apologize. I'm here for you, talk to me." He took a shaky breath, turning to face me fully, tears glistening fresh on his cheeks. "I don't know what's wrong with me. Hazel, everyone leaves. Everyone I love just leaves, first my parents, then my girlfriend. Why can't I ever be enough?" His pain cut me deeply, echoing my own unspoken fears. Without thinking, I pulled him into my arms, cradling him softly against me. Desperate to ease the ache, we both carried the warmth of his body, pressed against mine, sent an electric surge through me. But I pushed it away, trying desperately to focus solely on comforting him. But Jack's breathing slowed, softened, matching the rhythm of my own. We held each other silently, the rain still drumming hard against the windows, thunder rumbling softly in the distance. My heart pounded harder, awareness of our closeness growing stronger with every passing second. Jack slowly lifted his head, eyes searching, mine heavy with emotions. Neither of us had the courage to name. Time froze, tension crackling like the storm outside. His gaze moved slowly down to my lips, back up to my eyes, hesitant, unsure, yet undeniably filled with longing. My heart screamed a warning, but it was drowned out by the powerful, irresistible pull between us. Before I could think clearly, we moved closer, hesitating briefly, our lips hovering dangerously close. The world fell away around us. Nothing existed but this moment, suspended, charged, forbidden. And then, almost inevitably, Jack leaned in gently, softly pressing his lips against mine. It was brief, restrained, barely more than a whisper of contact, yet it ignited a fire within me, unlike anything I'd ever felt for a heartbeat. Everything felt perfect, right, beautifully complete, but reality crashed back into us instantly. Jack jerked away, eyes wide with shock, fear and confusion reflecting clearly in his expression. My heart dropped, stomach twisting violently with shame and panic. "Oh my God," he whispered, voice trembling. "Hazel, I'm sorry I didn't. I shouldn't have." I stared back at him, utterly speechless, my mind spinning, unable to find words. Every emotion collided inside me. Desire, guilt, fear, shame, all overwhelming, all consuming. We pulled apart, quickly moving away from each other, the space suddenly feeling vast and cold between us. Silence stretched, painfully, broken only by the relentless rain, both of us breathing heavily, hearts pounding, fully aware of the line we'd irrevocably crossed. In that moment, everything shattered around us. In the days that followed, the house felt suffocating, each room filled with an unbearable silent tension. Jack and I avoided each other, completely careful, never to occupy the same space for too long, as if the distance could somehow erase the truth of what had happened. But even without words, our secret hung heavily between us, unspoken yet deafening in its silence. Jack retreated deeply into himself, refusing to make eye contact, quietly shutting doors whenever I came near, always finding a reason to leave the room. Every attempt at conversation was met with short, clipped responses, his voice cold and distant, so unlike the warmth I'd grown used to. It was painful seeing him this way, knowing I was the reason for his withdrawal, that I had destroyed the fragile trust we'd carefully built. The guilt gnawed constantly at my stomach, twisting it into knots, robbing me of sleep and peace. Each night I lay awake, replaying that moment endlessly, the softness of his lips, the shock in his eyes, the devastating realization of what we'd done. My heart ached not just from regret, but from longing too. The loneliness I'd felt before Jack moved and returned fiercely sharper and more intense, tainted now with shame and self-loathing. I hated myself for what I'd done, hated myself even more for still desperately craving that closeness, even as guilt consumed me from the inside out. And then Oliver came home as he walked through the front door, suitcase in hand, smiling warmly and oblivious. My guilt became almost unbearable. He greeted me with a quick kiss on the cheek, his familiar yet distant affection only heightening my sense of betrayal. As I stood beside Oliver pretending everything was normal, I felt like a fraud wearing a mask of normalcy, while my entire world crumbled silently beneath the surface. Watching Jack interact with Oliver was agony. Jack played his part well, laughing lightly at Oliver's jokes, making polite small talk, even smiling occasionally. But I saw the pain behind his eyes, the careful way he avoided my gaze, the subtle tension that clenched his jaw every time our eyes accidentally met. My anxiety grew stronger, every interaction feeling like a dangerous trope. My heart constantly racing, waiting for the secret to spill out to ruin everything. I desperately tried to act normal cooking meals, pretending interest in Oliver's work trips, forcing smiles as he spoke about his plans and dreams for our future. But inside I was unraveling each innocent question Oliver asked about Jack, how he'd been, whether we'd gotten along, stabbed painfully at my heart, reminding me again and again of the betrayal I'd committed. The worst moments came at night, lying beside Oliver in our bed, inches apart, yet worlds away. The silence between us was heavy and painful. My mind, consumed by thoughts of Jack, of what had happened, of how everything had changed forever. Oliver slept peacefully beside me, unaware, his steady breathing contrasting sharply with my restless turmoil. Every day I saw Jack slipping further away, more withdrawn, quieter, visibly struggling. My guilt intensified, anxiety churning constantly in my *****T, leaving me exhausted, hollow, afraid of what might come next. I knew I had damaged something precious and irreplaceable, something that could never be fixed. The truth pressed down on me relentlessly. I destroyed the delicate balance of our home, betrayed Oliver's trust, and pushed Jack deeper into pain and confusion. And yet even then buried, beneath all my guilt, shame, and regret, a small, stubborn part of me still ached for what I knew was wrong. I spent endless hours trapped inside my own mind, replaying every detail, every choice I'd made, desperately searching for a way out of the mess I'd created. The guilt heavy and suffocating, wrapped tightly around my heart, whispering accusations, reminding me relentlessly of how I'd failed not just as a wife but as a person I once respected. I couldn't look myself in the mirror without seeing the shame etched clearly into my reflection. Who had I become? How did I allow myself to slip this far? Every quiet moment was filled with painful introspection, endless self-questioning, and relentless doubt. I couldn't escape the haunting questions. Had Jack felt pressured? Had I taken advantage of his vulnerability, or was he as lost and confused as I was? The thought made my stomach twist painfully, knowing I'd risk not only my marriage but possibly damage someone. I deeply cared about someone who trusted me, someone who had needed my protection, not my selfishness. I wanted, desperately, to fix it, to rewind time, undo that one irreversible moment. But life doesn't grant second chances so easily. How could I fix something so deeply broken without destroying everything around me? Oliver, oblivious and distant as he was, didn't deserve this betrayal. He'd done nothing wrong except drift away, and wasn't I equally responsible for allowing it? Yet here I was caught in this tangled web of emotions, longing and shame, feeling trapped with no clear escape. Every attempt to rationalize or justify my actions crumbled beneath the harsh truth of what I'd done. The loneliness I felt, the neglect, the ache for intimacy, none of it could truly excuse crossing the lines I'd crossed, yet still buried. Beneath the heavy layers of regret, my heart stubbornly clung to the warmth. I'd felt the closeness I'd briefly tasted, knowing fully that it was wrong, forbidden, dangerous, and yet achingly irresistible. And that was the worst part of it. All the confusion, the terrible ambiguity. Had we crossed a line irreparably? How far had it really gone? In my mind, the memories blurred, softened by guilt, regret, and the overwhelming weight of shame. What had been an innocent comfort turned into something deeply complicated, something I couldn't even admit clearly to myself. Tormented me, leaving me uncertain, questioning my own intentions, my own desires. Every evening, as darkness filled the house, my heart would pound anxiously, wondering how Jack was feeling, if he shared my guilt and shame, or if he blamed me entirely. I wondered endlessly if I could ever repair what I'd broken, if honesty would heal or simply destroy everything further. Could I confess to Oliver? Could I endure seeing the hurt, disappointment, and betrayal on his face? Knowing I was responsible? I lay awake night after night, wrestling endlessly with my conscience, desperate for redemption yet terrified of losing everything, the painful. Reality was clear. I had crossed boundaries I'd always sworn never to approach. I had compromised my morals, betrayed trust, and damaged relationships that might never fully heal. And now, as I sat quietly in the darkness, I knew I faced a decision I could no longer avoid. Would I stay silent carrying this secret alone? Or would I risk everything, my marriage, my family, my entire life, to seek forgiveness and honesty? I had no answers, only questions, and the aching truth that nothing would ever be the same again. If you've ever been trapped between loneliness and temptation, please share your thoughts below. I genuinely want to hear your perspective, your experiences, your advice. Did I cross the line? Or is loneliness sometimes too powerful to fight alone? Make sure to subscribe to Shocking Infidelity Saga, where real stories reveal what happens when our deepest emotions take control. Hit that like button and don't forget to turn on notifications so you'll never miss another emotional story that might just help someone going through something similar. And please remember, this loneliness can lead us to decisions we never imagined we'd make. It can cloud our judgment, blur boundaries, and lead us to places we know we shouldn't go. Recognize when you're vulnerable and don't hesitate to seek help before it's too. My story ends here. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next videos.